February 23, 2020. Brunswick, Georgia. The air was quiet, soft with that kind of stillness only small towns know on a Sunday afternoon. 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery laced up his running shoes, slipped in his earbuds, and stepped outside. Jogging was his thing, a simple habit, a way to think, to breathe, to reset. He didn't know that only a few blocks away, 3 men would soon decide that he didn't belong on those roads. Ahmaud was known to his friends as Maud. He'd grown up right there in Brunswick, played football in high school, fast on his feet, with that kind of energy people remembered. After school, he stayed close to home, working on his future, dreaming of becoming an electrician. His mother said running was his peace. When life got noisy, he'd put on his shoes and just go. His routes often took him through Satilla Shores, a mostly white neighborhood not far from where he lived. To Ahmaud, it was just a path like any other. To some residents, though, his presence stirred suspicion. The area had seen reports of petty thefts, nothing serious, no arrests, but enough to breed whispers. A young black man jogging through their quiet streets became a story waiting to be twisted. On that February day, 2 of those residents, Gregory and Travis McMichael, were home when they spotted Ahmaud running by. Gregory, a retired investigator with ties to local law enforcement, thought he looked like someone seen on surveillance footage at a nearby construction site. In that clip, a man, possibly Ahmaud, briefly entered an unfinished house, looked around, and left. Nothing was taken, nothing damaged. But that small, innocent act became the seed of deadly suspicion. The McMichaels grabbed their guns, a .357 revolver and a shotgun, and jumped into their truck. They said they wanted to talk to the man. But you don't bring a gun to talk. They followed him down the road, calling out for him to stop. Ahmaud didn't. He wasn't running from guilt, he was running because 2 armed men in a truck were chasing him. As they pursued him, a neighbor, William "Roddy" Bryan, noticed the commotion. Instead of calling the police, he joined the chase. He brought his phone, eager to record what he thought was something worth filming. He didn't know he was about to capture one of the most horrifying moments in recent history. Ahmaud tried to change direction, dodging between driveways and open roads, but the 2 trucks cornered him. Bryan's camera, shaky and blurred, caught the moment Ahmaud approached the front of the McMichaels' truck, where Travis stood waiting with his shotgun raised. In seconds, 3 shots echoed through the air. Ahmaud fell to the pavement, his run cut short forever. For a moment, silence filled the road. The men stood over him, breathing hard. There was no weapon on Ahmaud, no stolen goods, nothing but a pair of running shoes and the body of a young man who never saw it coming. Police arrived soon after. They took statements. They took evidence. But they didn't make arrests. Gregory McMichael's long-standing connections with local prosecutors led the case to be passed from one office to another, each citing conflicts of interest. For weeks, Ahmaud's family waited, called, begged for updates. Nothing happened. Then, something unimaginable, one of the prosecutors wrote in a memo that the McMichaels were within their rights to chase Ahmaud under Georgia's outdated citizen's arrest law. That law dated back to 1863, from a time when white civilians were legally allowed to hunt down enslaved people who fled. More than a century later, that same justification was being used to excuse the killing of an unarmed black jogger. For 74 days, nothing changed. No charges. No arrests. No headlines. The case might have quietly disappeared, another tragedy buried under paperwork, until, in May 2020, the video recorded by Roddy Bryan leaked online. It spread like wildfire. The world saw what happened, Ahmaud running, trying to escape, and then being shot in broad daylight. The outrage was instant. Social media exploded with demands for justice. Celebrities, activists, and ordinary people began to ask the same question: how could this have been ignored? Within 48 hours, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation took over. Within days, the McMichaels were arrested, and soon after, Roddy Bryan too. The same video they thought might prove their innocence became undeniable proof of their guilt. Ahmaud Arbery's name became a rallying cry. "I Run with Maud" flooded timelines, a movement in itself. But for his family, the pain was raw. Their son was gone, his only crime being that he wanted a quiet afternoon jog. A young man went running. He never came home. For more than 2 months, those responsible walked free. But once the world saw the truth, everything changed. When the video of Ahmaud's death went viral, the world froze. 36 seconds of shaky footage shattered any illusion of misunderstanding. It showed Ahmaud running for his life and being cornered by 2 men with guns. It was raw, unfiltered, and impossible to justify. In May 2020, the outrage forced action. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation arrested Gregory and Travis McMichael, followed by William "Roddy" Bryan. For many, this was the first sign that justice might finally begin, but for others, it was too little, too late. The question lingered: why did it take a viral video to get here? By the time the trial began in November 2021, the case had become a national symbol. Outside the courthouse, protesters held signs that read, "Justice for Ahmaud," and "Run with Maud." Inside, cameras rolled, capturing every word as the defense and prosecution prepared for battle. The defense argued that the McMichaels and Bryan believed Ahmaud was a suspect in local burglaries. They claimed they were performing a citizen's arrest, and that Travis McMichael shot in self-defense when Ahmaud tried to grab the gun. It was an argument that leaned on fear, and centuries of stereotypes. The prosecution dismantled it. They showed frame by frame that Ahmaud was unarmed, never threatened the men, and tried to escape until he was trapped. They reminded the jury that the McMichaels never saw him commit a crime. They chased him because of a suspicion, one rooted not in facts, but in bias. Day after day, the court watched the video again. Every shot. Every step. Every second of terror. By the time closing arguments came, the truth was undeniable. On November 24, 2021, the jury reached its decision. All 3 men were found guilty of murder. The courtroom fell silent. Outside, people cried, hugged, and prayed. Ahmaud's mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, said softly, "Nothing will bring my son back, but this is justice." In early 2022, the story continued in federal court. This time, prosecutors charged the men with hate crimes, arguing they had targeted Ahmaud because of his race. The jury agreed. Each man was found guilty once again. The verdicts brought relief, but also reflection. How close did this case come to being buried forever? What would have happened if the video never leaked? How many other stories, unseen and unrecorded, have faded into silence because there was no proof to force accountability? Ahmaud's death changed laws. Georgia repealed its Civil War-era citizens' arrest statute. His name joined those of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor in a global demand for racial justice. Yet beneath the headlines, divisions remained. Some saw the case as clear murder. Others clung to excuses. And a few asked why the system only seems to work when the world is watching. There's something haunting about that thought, that truth and justice might depend on how loud the outrage gets. That without a camera, without a viral clip, the story might have ended as nothing more than a local report of a confrontation gone wrong. And so we're left with questions that don't fit neatly into a verdict. Why was a man's life valued less than someone's suspicion? Why did justice need proof that should never have been required? And would the outcome have been the same if the colors, roles, or circumstances were reversed? Ahmaud Arbery was 25 years old. He went for a jog. He was chased, confronted, and killed. His death sparked protests, changed laws, and opened old wounds across America. But the truth is, no law, no verdict, no prison sentence will undo what was taken from him. He didn't die because of what he did. He died because of what others decided he must have been. And so as the dust settles and the cameras move on, one question still lingers in the air, one that divides opinion and stirs debate every time his name is spoken. Was justice truly served that day in court? Or was it only delivered because millions of eyes were finally watching? Because if justice only comes after the world demands it, was it ever justice at all?